G'day Internet, Max right here, and today we're going to talk about another vector in the crypto State of the Union kind of concept that I've been doing this last video series. Check out the link in the description for the entire playlist. Each episode I'm just talking about a new concept in crypto, just kind of giving a lay of the land for maybe last year and this year, so because things have changed a little bit, and so we're kind of catching up here. So today I want to talk about the, what would be a good word for it, but the die-heartedness of the respective crypto communities and what they kind of look like. So if we cast our mind back to the 2017 bubble, it crashes, and over the next kind of whatever it was year, basically pretty much all altcoins lose 99% of their value. Bitcoin loses about 80% of its value. I think it got all the way to 87% maybe. Now that may seem like another, those numbers, when you say it like that, those numbers are pretty close, like 99% versus 87%. It's kind of a big deal, right? But there's an order of magnitude difference in there, right? So it's a big deal between what happened to the prices of altcoins and what happened to the prices of the Bitcoin. So like Bitcoin's almost an order of magnitude up on what happened from the altcoin prices. So really big deal. And now what happened? This is what kind of indicative and reflective of what happens in a bear market. All right, people, there is a lot more steadfastness. Let's pretend that's a word. There's a lot more grit to the Bitcoin community than the altcoin community. At least there was back then. And then the question becomes now, I want to try and understand this market. What is that like now? If we were trying to put a metric on that, try and understand that concept, how do we understand the difference? What is the grit between an Ethereum holder, a Bitcoin holder, a different altcoin holder, etc.? And I personally put it into broad categories. These are obviously generalizations, and there's plenty of grit in both camps, but just trying to understand the difference. And I think this kind of anecdote is that I'm about to share with you is really helpful to understand the grit of these two different marketplaces. Because in the good times, it's just like people are just like, there's fun. It's like you're at a craps table, and like it's like, you know, roll the dice, and the whole table cheers, and on the good days, and we all commiserate together on the bad days. And there's a fun vibe to it. It's a casino vibe. It's a fun vibe, and you're there for fun as much as you are making money. That seems to be how it feels in the good times, right? But in the bad times, that grit becomes very important. So in the good times, the table, the craps table that's got the most amount of fun attracts the most amount of people, even if the two tables are performing just as well, or even if one table's performing a little bit better. Fun is like half the deal. In the bear market, it's the grit that's the deal, and it's really important to understand what characters make up the camps. So with that in mind, I want to draw your attention to a couple of things which I think are indicative to be like a reflection or a characterization or an avatar of the two communities. So for the altcoin community, I'm going to choose Raoul Pal. Absolute legend, love this guy, really cool guy. And he's very honest with you about how he looks at things, what his job is, and what he's doing. And first of all, the fact that he has the self-knowledge to accurately determine it puts him in the top 10% of people of quality of characters, I would say. The fact that he has the integrity to let you know puts him in the top 1% of characters of what he is. So kudos to him for letting you know, being aware of it for himself. Most people don't. And then have the integrity to share it. And he's very honest with it. He says this. He says, listen, I don't, like a lot of people in Bitcoin, they're like a religious to it, or they're saving the world, or they're libertarian ideologues, or yes, I don't care about any of that garbage. I'm just here to make money. That's all I want to do. I want to make money. I want to just make money. My job is to find the opportunities. And to me, he's like going to the fun craps table, right? And he's just like, this is where it's fun. This is where I'm making money. This is where this casino is where the slots are loose. This is where I'm having fun. And he's openly telling you in a very honest way, in a very good way, that he's just going to chase the fun returns wherever they are. And that's a really important concept, I think. And I think it's very indicative of the altcoin market. Like, I don't think people are particularly loyal to Ethereum. They might be passionate about it because they think it's going to win. They've got a lot of money invested in it. But if to persuade them to check out something else, and maybe check out one of the other ones, they would be open to it. In fact, Cardano's entire strategy is basically built on this fickleness, right? Cardano, they're building a suite of tools which allow someone who's coded something like a dApp on the Ethereum network is you click a button, you copy and paste, and you bring it across to the Cardano network, and it will work natively on the Cardano network, right? So Cardano is investing an enormous amount of money banking on this fickleness, where people can just snap your fingers, bring all your Ethereum code over here, and boom, you can replicate that project here. And even if you don't, the manager of the thing doesn't, all the projects are open source. So a copycat can just go and copy, paste, bring it over to Cardano, and then all of a sudden, all the tools in the Ethereum network are now in the Cardano network. That's the theory that Cardano is working on, right? So I think that's a really good avatar to understand. I think most people in the altcoin space, they get knowledgeable, they do a lot of research, they get knowledgeable about a project, but it's a project, it's just, at the end of the day, it's just an investment, it's fun, they're there to make money, this is a cool project, it could be gaming, it could be funny ape NFTs, it could be whatever, but there's no passion, there's no loyalty, there's no I'm saving the world concept to those avatars. They can be persuaded to just jump ship. All right, that's one avatar. Let's jump over here to the Bitcoin world. And to me, this one is just crazy. It's probably an extreme version. Probably not far from everybody in the Bitcoin space is like with the story I'm about to tell you. But I think it's worth understanding what's going on here. Bitcoin, Miami, Bitcoin 2021. All right. Jack Mallers comes out on stage and he has a huge announcement for the Bitcoin community. He's been working really hard and he's working with the El Salvador government, and they're going to, El Salvador is going to legalize Bitcoin. And they just could have done it so many different ways. Jack Mallers could have come out on stage, popping champagne corks, hired a whole bunch of models to walk in behind him and just had this big fireworks explosion. My company's going to be worth $1 billion. It's like huge thing. It's just absolute celebration for how rich he's going to be, how much money he's going to make, all these kinds of things. Jack Mallers doesn't do anything about that. He comes out, tears streaming down his face, so passionate about the help and good he's doing in El Salvador, so excited that he is working and successfully given the El Salvadorians a chance, an option to escape fiat tyranny. And I just think that is such a big contrast. It's like, it doesn't matter. Jack Mallers would be doing that if he didn't make a penny. He is just a mission-driven person, and I find that to be very true. Maybe that was exaggeration, by the way. Maybe he wouldn't do it if he wasn't making a penny, but he's very much a mission-driven person. And I think that's a really important distinction to understand that between the Bitcoiners and the altcoin world. Bitcoiners are passionate. Like Elon Musk is like Dogecoin is coming, just forget about it. Like Bitcoin, it's another concept. This kind of goes hand in hand. Bitcoin has beaten its competitors. There is no meme coin, there is no Dogecoin, there is no any other coin that is trying to replace what Bitcoin does, right? They might be trying. There's no one even close. No one even close. That race has been run and won. Bitcoin is the winner. The altcoins is a very different story. Ethereum is leading, pardon me. Ethereum is leading, Ethereum is looking very strong, but it is not a done and dusted race at all. It is very much an open race. There's a lot of other L1s competing. There's Solana, there's Cardano, it goes on and on and on forever and ever and ever. That field is very, very competitive. Lots of competitors chasing a very big slice of pie, which all the areas they service. NFTs, ICOs, gaming, all that kind of stuff is in there. It's a very cool thing in there, right? In another episode, we talked about the size of the pies of the respective, what Bitcoin does and what altcoins do, and the size of the respective pies. Highly recommend you check that out, right? Very, very important one. And we also now see that in those respective pies, Bitcoin owns the whole pie. Nothing else matters. Nothing else is coming to displace it. It is the pie. And on this side, with the altcoin world, they're competing for the pie. As big a pie as it is, they're competing for it. We don't know who's going to win. It's like you got to be, okay, it's at the beginning of the internet. So do you invest in Alta Vista, Excite, Logos was I think one, Yahoo or Google? And you're like, which one? And there was 10 others all competing for search. And you got to guess the right one. In the Bitcoin world, it's guessed. We know the race is run and won. Okay. So now we come down to, going back to the original concept I wanted to talk in this video, the grit. The grit. Jack Mallers is not walking away from Bitcoin because it has a down day, because it has a bad month, because it has a down year. You could have a down decade. Jack Mallers is not walking away from Bitcoin. he just sees it as the greatest gift to humanity. He's mission driven, and that's what he's going to do. The altcoiners are a little more fickle. I would argue a lot more fickle. They're going to, oh, the fees are high on this network, change to the next network. Okay, you see it all the time, all the time. They're just switching between these things. Now the developers are a different story. There's a lot more. Investors can jump ship in 2 seconds. Developers, there's lead time of learning new languages, doing researches, etc., factoring the code to work for a different chain. That's a whole different story with the developers, and that's why there's a little bit of stickiness to their respective networks, and that's why Ethereum's been #1 for a while and sticky for a while. But the investors for them, it's a lot more fickle. And also for the developers are a little less so than the investors, but more so than, say, Bitcoin developers, a lot more fickle. So I just think that's a really, really important thing to understand. And it's very important to understand during bad times. So, by the way, I myself right now am pretty impressed with how the altcoins are holding up right now. It's been like a boring market, it's been a down market, and it's not really, I would have thought that the altcoiners would have got punished more than what they've been punished so far. So credit to them, testimony to them, they're showing a little more grit than I gave them credit for. So that's interesting. So the question becomes, if we just turn around now and go into a bull market, does the really fun casino table where everyone's rolling dice and coming up with a big win all the time, does that cause another altcoin market explosion? Does that do that? You've got that competing against the institutional money flowing into Bitcoin. You've got those things. So which one of those things is more fun? Right? That's interesting. Very interesting concept. But what about on the downside? On the downside, when that table over there of the altcoins is not so fun, not paying so much money, do they have the grit to stick that out? Or are they like, this is too wild a ride. I made these really big gains. I was super excited. And then I sat there and watched it all give back. I'm going to jump over to Bitcoin. It's a more conservative investment for me. It's a safer bet for me. You got the institutional coming in. That could play out. So this is just one vector, right? And I explain in different videos. You have to sum up all of these different vectors, all of these different concepts inside of this state of the crypto series that I'm putting. And once you have all of the different vectors and add them all up, it's going to tell you where a fund's going to flow, into crypto, out of crypto, into alts, into Bitcoin. All of these things are going to be answered as you understand all of these different vectors and put a value or a weight to them, right? So go ahead, click the subscribe button, hit the like button, and make sure you get all the different vectors. And go ahead and check out the playlist so that you hear all of the different components, right? So this one was about the grit of the two communities, the avatars. As a loose approximation, we've got Raoul Pal as one, and we've got Jack Mallers as the other, Bitcoin versus, or altcoin versus Bitcoin, respectively. So I really think it's really interesting. Go ahead and let me know in the comments below, which community do you think has more grit? In a down market, which ones are going to stay, which ones are going to bail? In an up market, which ones are going to see the biggest returns? I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts. Okay, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon.